The following program is presented by the Far East Broadcasting Company because stories of people living out the gospel with their lives inspire all of us. FEBC, taking Christ to the world through radio and new media. Learn more at FEBC.org.
Many times it's not my success that has been helpful for the listeners, but it's to see my struggles. And that helps me see the beauty of struggle, and it's so very wonderful.
Lessons from a Chinese Christian broadcaster on this edition of First Person. Welcome to our program. I'm Wayne Shepherd. In a moment, you'll meet a young Chinese man who has a burden to proclaim the gospel to his home nation. These conversations are made possible by the Far East Broadcasting Company, which started in China but now reaches nearly 50 nations with local language broadcasts. Thousands of hours of programming goes out each day from FEBC, all with the purpose of introducing people to Jesus Christ and giving them God's Word for growth in their faith. For more about FEBC and its many radio and media ministries around the world, please visit febc.org. Once again, go to the website febc.org. With millions of listeners in China and many Chinese-speaking listeners in other countries, including the U.S., one radio program is hosted by a young man who recently came to America to study at Biola University. It is estimated that his total audience numbers over 10 million, perhaps more. Joshua Sun tells us his story now on First Person.
Honestly, it was not my plan of coming to Biola because I was in China and I was doing a radio show. And at that time, I just felt like somehow some of our coworkers from FEBC America, they came to visit us. I was hosting them. Every time, when people came, they were like, oh, you should study abroad. And I never thought about that. But, when you hear the same thing for a lot of times, then you just start thinking about that.
That's how God gets your attention.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, cool. But, you have to think about the finance and the cost, all the, just the future. So I was like, no, I'm not ready for this because my family is not that rich to support me, and plus I don't want to get money from my parents because they have given me so much already. So I was praying, and then Biola just came to my mind because I know it's a Christian school, and I applied and I got rejected.
Oh, I was expecting you to say accepted.
No. You
got rejected.
Rejected at the first time, and I believe the reason was because my English was not good enough, and I didn't pass the requirement for English. So I was like, okay, never mind. Just like, okay. During that time, my church group gave me such a great help. And we spent time reading the Bible and praying. And I got an email from Biola. They reached out again saying, well, we are ready for you to come.
And that you graduated from Biola, I'm told, with some top honors, right, in journalism?
It's outstanding student of journalism.
Outstanding student of journalism. You're saying with a humble smile on your face. That's quite amazing.
I finished, and God provided everything. It was just totally out of my mind, and He is really faithful. The first day I went to Biola, it was at the housing center because I was just so lost. It was my first time coming to...
I can only imagine what it'd be like coming all the way here.
It was my first time coming to the country, but also my English was really bad at that time. I was not able to understand what people are talking about. So I came into FEBC Chinese Ministry in La Mirada. It's the same city where Biola is at. Mm-hmm. So they asked me, okay, so when is the first day of school, and then when is the orientation? And I said, well, a couple weeks away. They were like, are you sure? And I was like, oh, let me double check. And then we found out it's the next day.
Oh.
I went to school. I didn't check in. I went to housing center and they said, well, we don't have a room for you. I said, I registered and the lady said, well, we don't have a room for you. But then she was really sweet. She said, well, hold on a second. Let me figure it out. And then she came back again, gave me a key and told me, okay, which way to go. So my coworker was with me and we went to Hope Hall. We found a room. We opened the door and we quickly shut down the door because we realized it was not our plan. It's a single room. We went back and the lady said, well, it's for you, but we charge you a double room. Oh. But the Lord, He is outstanding.
Amen.
And He listens, He sees, and He answers.
Amen. When did you become a believer home in China?
Well, it's a long time ago. Let me see. Not that long.
You're not that old.
The end of 2005.
Okay, and what were the circumstances?
Well, I was in college. And by the way, this is my second time coming back to college when I went to Biola. So it was the time that I was at college and I was really discouraged because the people around me were not that hardworking. And I just felt like I'm so out of them. It was really just, the pride I had.
You want to be a good student.
Yeah. And I was far away from home, and life was not very easy for me because I was far away from home, far away from family. And there was a teacher. Oh, she was my English teacher, and she was so nice to me. She's like my 24 hours hotline, just anytime I can call her, and she's been very helpful. The next year, she became a Christian, and I was joking around about Christians because we learned a lot about American literature, and it has a lot of things about the Bible. I was joking about this, but she was not ready to share the gospel with me. It was really critical for teachers or professors to share the gospel with students.
She could put herself in jeopardy.
Yes. So it was a time that just her and me, and we talked about that, and she gave me a very sweet smile, just like usual. And then she said, I am a Christian. And I was like, okay. And then I was not ready to hear the gospel, but she shared it with me. And she invited me to the church. And I told my roommates, and I said, hey guys, I am going to church this weekend. And they just joking around, and they were like, oh, you're going to be a Christian. I said, no, never. So I went to church, and for some reason, okay, by the way, it's an underground church. Mm-hmm. For some reason, she put me in the children's class. And I was like, why you put me here? And just heard so many just ridiculous stories, crazy jokes about children. And one child, he used the bathroom so often and just so many times in one session. So he opened the door, and I saw the congregation, and I saw my teacher. She was crying. She was singing the hymns. And I was like, why? Why these people are so crazy? And afterwards, she asked me, how does it feel? And I said, well, it's just ridiculous. And she stopped asking me any questions about going to church. And I met some problems at school, and I was struggling again. I called her again, and she invited me to church again. And I remember I had a very horrible toothache. And she said, well, you can pray for that. And I said, I have no idea how to do so. And she just quickly gave me an instruction, and I followed. And that was my first prayer I did. And the Lord helped me. And it made me just want to go to church again. So I went to church again, and the same classroom with the same group of children. But at that time, the teacher was sharing a story of someone got a very fatal accident, and he was saved by the doctors. And he said, "Hey, sounds like his life." And now I just cannot remember anything we talked about the children, about the stories from the Bible, but I just remember the moment when he said, "Wow, this story sounds like his own story," and just got my attention, and I asked him what's going on, and then he shared his story with me. He was struggling with drugs, and he was put in prison because of drugs, and he came out, he became a Christian in prison, and he led people to Christ. And I was like, okay, Lord, if you are able to help him, and I want to try you. So that was that was the beginning of my journey of following Jesus Christ, and praise him, he is just faithful. And since I started seeking him, he never let me down, and I just, till now.
That's remarkable. Are you the only believer in your family then?
Till last year, I was the only one. But last year, my parents came to visit me, and we traveled a lot. We went to Chicago, and we went to Milwaukee, and they were just. It's a very open-minded journey or traveling for them, because it gave them the opportunity to get to know the gospel deeper, and also they met several. Actually, a lot great friends, and then they accepted the Christ.
They've come to Christ. Your parents have come to Christ. That's amazing.
And the story is very wonderful. When I came home, and the following week at FEBC Chinese Ministry, we were doing some envelope or sort of like this work, and we were short of hands for just doing the stuff, and we really needed volunteers. And I remember I called my parents. They came, and along with some of my friends, they were sitting in the conference room. I just look at through the window. I look at the room, just saw my parents doing the work of FEBC, and it was just such a great moment for me. Just years ago, they were really against if they believe, but now they are team working with me.
And we'll continue this conversation with Chinese broadcaster Joshua Sun coming up on First Person.
When I first heard the good news on FEBC's station, I tried praying to Jesus for the first time. Life is difficult, but Christ is helping me see things differently.
The Far East Broadcasting Company receives millions of responses each year from grateful listeners. FEBC is dedicated to taking Christ to the world through radio and new media. To learn more, please visit febc.org. That's febc.org. The Far East Broadcasting Company, until all have heard. My guest is Joshua Sun. Joshua works with the Far East Broadcasting Company in La Mirada, California. You're a recent graduate of Biola, as we said. So you came to this country from China. You studied at Biola. You became an outstanding journalism student at Biola. The Lord has really blessed your life.
He does.
I mean, you're just getting started in life, too. It's amazing. So as I understand it, you worked with FEBC while you were living in China, and you were doing radio programs.
Yes. Before I came to Biola, and the amazing thing is, since I came to Biola, and I didn't stop my program because, it's pre-recorded, and I just did several episodes in advance. So just gave me my time of transition, and I came to the States.
So when you came to Biola, did you know that FEBC's headquarters was right down the street?
Okay, so we had a time that several of the coworkers from La Mirada visited me, and actually we had a reunion or retreat in China, and they told me it's very nearby Biola, but I had no idea how close it was.
How did you make it known to FEBC that you were here at Biola Biola, and you're willing to come work in radio here at FEBC?
Well, when I was in China, I was debating a direction whether I wanted to work in the business radio station or gospel radio station. And I met some friends. They were seeking the direction as well. They're my church friends, and they're great broadcasters. So they said, well, let's just pray for that. So we set up a 1-week prayer, and I prayed, and then I made my decision. Okay, I'll just keep my vision and keep my passion of sharing gospel with people through through radio.
Mm-hmm. So as I understand it now, you're part of the Chinese Ministries Department at the Far East Broadcasting Company. The program or programs that you do are actually heard in China, back home. How does that work?
Well, actually, both overseas, or that includes, mainland of China or anywhere of the world, because the online streaming, but also people in the greater LA area, so the local people.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so what I'm doing right now is just music radio. It's a very light gospel message. I'm not a very deep theology person, and I just wanted to use music, especially with some pop music, because there's a lot of questions in pop music. They are seeking answers, but there's no answer. So I just wanted to share some light of message, and plus it's a rush hour every day in the afternoon. So and people love it because at least it builds up a bridge between believers and non-believers. And for believers, it's gospel, it's about God. For non-believers, it's not very difficult for them to comprehend. So it's beautiful. I say Jesus directly, and I say God, I talk about the Bible. Every day I talk, I use a lot of Bible verses.
Okay, wonderful. So this program that you do, are you on the air every day with this program during the week?
From Monday to Sunday, except on Wednesday.
Okay. And as you said, it's heard during rush hour?
Yes, from 4 to 5 every day.
Okay.
And then it's online, anytime you can jump in.
So I'm beginning to understand this now. The program that you do is broadcast primarily in LA, but it's also online.
Yes.
So that you have many people around the world listening, including your home country of China. How do you know how many people are listening?
It's hard to know because now it's on some Chinese social media and you can see the numbers. That's a way that you can see how many people are listening. But also we found that many websites. Well, yesterday I was talking with my boss, and we just found out someone just created a page for me on different websites, and I have no idea who they are.
So they're taking your program and they're, in a sense, rebroadcasting it on their own website.
Yeah, they download and then they upload to their web page. But for some of them, they are not able to download. They just have my content, like the words, the writing words, the scripts. It's hard to know how many people are listening, but sometimes it's very encouraging when you hear someone just sending you a message or just a voice message or a call saying, well, it's hard for us to have a pastor recently in China, but we have groups and we'll listen to you just group by group. It's not just individuals. So it's very encouraging. So in that way, it's really hard to see how many people are listening.
And here you are, and God's given you this ministry. What are your thoughts about that? Did you ever dream or ask the Lord for such a platform?
This past year has been very special for me because what I love to do or what I am good at is interviews. I like dialogues. I like to interview people, but I never done what I'm doing right now. So it's a hard time at the very beginning. And I remember I sat down, I was so frustrated. And I prayed, and the Lord just told me, okay, you can share your devotion with the listeners. I started that, and it turned out as a healing time every time. When I write down the content, when I prepare the program, even songs or background music, I remember there are countless times that I just weep or cry in my desk because the Lord helped me so much with a totally different perspective to see my struggles, my shame, and even my failures. And I realized many times it's not my success that has been helpful for the listeners, but it's my failure and how I struggle, how I wrestle.
Yeah, your vulnerability to share your life with listeners.
And that helps me see the beauty of struggle and the beauty of shame. And it's so very wonderful.
Well, that's well said. And thank you. And we thank the Lord for you, Joshua. I want to go back, though. I want our listeners to understand that while we can't pinpoint the numbers, it's entirely evident that you speak to more people every day than most American radio people ever dream of. No, I'm serious about that. I've been told that your program is listened to by so many people in so many places. The Lord has really blessed that, and that's quite a story to tell. And I want to make sure our listeners understand the scope of that. So again, thanks for your faithfulness. When I saw you in your office today, were you preparing a program then?
I was producing, actually.
Okay, and what was that program like? What was the content?
We just wanted, because it's a teamwork, and I'm so grateful to have someone in my team, and they added. So I just wanted to make sure everything is going well, and then afterwards we'll set them and get them ready to go on air.
Give me an idea of the kind of interaction that you see on the social media pages. The people who listen to what you do on the radio. What's the interaction like? Are they asking you questions? Are they just sharing their own life? What's going on there?
They share life, and because we don't see one another face in face, and there's vulnerability, and they trust me. I got a letter recently from a listener in China, along with a link of my program, and she sent me a message. I forgot the words, but it's just a very short message, and I was not able to understand what she meant. And the link for the program, and also some pictures of a newborn twins. She said, well, long story short, she said she was going to give up the baby in the hospital. And then she listened to the program just talking about courage, trust. And she gave up. Instead of giving up the babies, she gave up her decision to abort the babies, and then the new babies just came to the world. So it was really happy.
And she sent you the photo of those two babies.
And kind of just giving me thanks and saying, well, thank you so much for the program. And she said, because of you and the program, the babies came.
Isn't it a privilege to be in the position? The Lord puts us in that position to help people that way. And again, these are people you'll likely never meet.
No, never.
But you're able to minister to every day through radio, through the Far East Broadcasting Company. Have you thought about the privilege that is to serve Christ in this way?
I did not expect this, and I never thought, just a music program can thrive like this. So I never thought. And plus, at the very beginning, this program is just for the local people in LA. It's not for overseas. But now, I never thought about that. I never expected that.
Our first-person guest has been Joshua Sun, a Chinese Christian broadcaster whose program is estimated to reach more than 10 million Chinese people. That's a staggering radio and internet number, but God is the one who is giving the growth using this remarkable young man. Joshua serves with the Far East Broadcasting Company at the U.S. headquarters in La Mirada, California, but his program is beamed into China and other locations. More stories like this one can be told about what the Lord is doing through FEBC, and I urge you to visit the website febc.org. There you can learn how to pray specifically not only for China, but for many other nations where the gospel is proclaimed via radio and the internet. Go to febc.org. And at firstpersoninterview.com, you can check out the programs to come in the weeks ahead. Plus, you can explore our archive of past interviews. Just go to firstpersoninterview.com. Now, with thanks to my friend and producer Joe Carlson, I'm Wayne Shepherd. Be sure to join us next time for First Person.